Zach Swearington. Where's Zach? I saw, is Zach here? No? Okay. He's on my list, but I didn't see him either. Good. Well, thank you to our legislators for your bipartisan work on this bill to help save people money on utilities in our state, especially with just all the changes that are going on. The electrification, it's a good thing overall. We're all happy it's happening, but we need to make sure it's done in a way where homeowners are held harmless, and this bill really furthers that goal, and appreciate your work to do that, and I'll turn it over to Representative Morrow.
Thank you, Governor, and we always appreciate it when you come to Pueblo. We are a big fan, so we appreciate you having you here. I do want to also thank the co-prime sponsors, Representative Ty Winter, Senator Nick Hendrickson, and Senator Pelton as well, as Black Hills Energy for working with us to try to find a solution to the problems that we have in Pueblo. So I appreciate them coming to the table to help look for solutions, because what I am focused on is Pueblo and economic growth for Pueblo. And at the state level, there's only so many things we could do, but this is something we can do and try to provide relief for electric needs for new businesses that want to relocate or upgrade in Pueblo. This bill will streamline a lot of those processes, upgrade the load, add some more time onto the length of time so they can make it workable. So it's just my hope to spur some economic growth here in Pueblo and work with our county and city partners to see what we can do to make Pueblo a little bit bigger, a little bit broader, and a little bit better. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it off to Nick Hendrickson.
Thank you, Tisha, and thank you, Governor. I think one of the frustrating things that you sometimes have to deal with in the policy space is these chicken or the egg problems. And we've got this chicken or egg problem here in Pueblo, where one of the biggest barriers to new business investment, particularly new large-scale business investment, is the utility rates that we have here in Pueblo. But growing the baseline, growing the demand side of the ledger is critical to be able to support the investment on the supply side that will be able to facilitate lower rates. So businesses are reluctant to come in because the rates are so high. Rates are not going down because businesses are not going in. That's the chicken or the egg problem that you have to solve for. And over the course of last summer and into the fall, there were a lot of conversations with John, with Gil, with Heidi about, okay, so we really need some help. How do we address this? And they delivered and delivered on this policy. So I really want to thank that team from Black Hills that worked to put this together, that is helping us to be able to get some movement so that we can have the egg or the chicken, I don't care what you call it, so that the egg or the chicken can then follow. And that's what this is really about. And grateful that we were able to get it done. Grateful that once the opportunity was able to be mapped out and the math was able to show itself, broad bipartisan support, and we had bipartisan sponsorship in each chamber. Really grateful for this. It just an absolute win for Coloradans and for our Southern Colorado communities, especially Pueblo. So thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you, Governor, for signing this.
Let's make it official. Here we go. Join these sponsors. It's officially the law of Colorado. Congratulations to both of you. We have two more bills that are public safety related from Senator Hendrickson that we're going to sign here today. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting. Let me see if I can find these. We have 1171 and 008. Those are the two bills. The first one, 1171, I'm going to speak to both, and I'll give you a chance to speak to both here. 1171, I want to thank Representative Byrd, Representative Bazenecker, Senator Hendrickson, and Senator Daphne Michelson-Janae. We set a major goal for the state to make Colorado one of the 10 safest states of the nation. We got right to work doing that in partnership with the legislature. We've taken a number of different steps to make Colorado safer, tougher penalties for auto theft, investments in diversion programs, and making sure that we can better ensure that our communities, including Pueblo, are safe. This bill makes sure that there's a broader list of offenses to help it reduce gun violence by adding first-degree motor theft to the criminal offenses that make you ineligible to possess a firearm. So it's a further deterrent for auto theft. We've made some good progress on auto theft the last few years. We increased the penalties for people stealing cars that are under $2,000 in value. This bill makes sure that if you steal a vehicle, then you lose your ability to purchase and own a gun in Colorado. So we want to make sure that our streets are safer. Thank you to the sponsors for taking this important step to keep firearms out of the hands of repeat criminals who are more likely to be involved in violent crime. And I would mention that we often now classify, while we talk about auto theft as a property crime, it really is a crime that is related to so many others. Stolen cars are often used in other crimes. They can be stolen by people who get them, who crash them, cause significant damage. This bill makes sure that we treat that more seriously as a crime, and that will help improve public safety across our state. The second bill we'll be signing is Senate Bill 8 that will streamline services and make government more efficient. This deals with documents like driver's licenses and ID cards that are so important for people, especially in challenging circumstances. Just as an example, following the Marshall fires, when families lost so much, including when they lost their essential documents, we set up mobile units to help Coloradans replace their IDs. This bill, led by Senator Henriksen, Senator Kipp, and Representative Froelich, improves the process for Coloradans to get the essential documents at no cost, including at DMV locations and mobile units or vital statistics offices. It gets rid of the need for a third party to manage these requests for zero-cost documents and leans toward boosting innovative technology that saves people time and money in getting the documents they need. It could be for work, it could be to rent an apartment, it could be to operate a motor vehicle, all a very important part of keeping Colorado safe, and we want to make sure that people aren't deterred from getting their documents because of costs in both time as well as money. Thank you to the sponsors for the work on the bill, and I'll turn it over to Senator Henriksen for both bills.
Thank you again, Mr. Governor. And, so POPO is something that the legislature has really looked at and wrestled with over the last decade as we look at the framework of our criminal justice infrastructure. And right now, it exists for a lot of, for all of the felony level violence offenses. And a couple that are, inciting a riot, the crimes where it shows that you lack the comportment to be able to responsibly handle a firearm. And when you commit crime, it's been long established constitutional standard that certain criminal behavior removes that automatic right to firearm possession, to firearm ownership. So we have it for inciting a riot. We have it for felony level crimes of bias. That's the official term that we have in Colorado for hate crime. So maybe it's not actually a violent act, but if you vandalize your next door neighbor's property with a slur or a symbol that is a display of your hate for who they are as a person, that's obviously somebody that does not have the comportment to be able to possess a firearm in a responsible manner. And one of the things that when I was campaigning back in 2022, I was asked about often by officers I was talking to on the street is this motor vehicle theft, because of the amount of times that we see stolen motor vehicles used in other crimes, and because it is a unique type of property offense. I tell the story often, one of the most frustrating days I had was about 7-8 years ago. We had moved into our starter house, and I had a car that was broken down, and I'm working on it in the driveway, and I went in to go to the bathroom, and I came out, and about $1,500 worth of tools were stolen just in that time. It was frustrating because I had to replace the tools, and I didn't have a functioning car to replace the tools from at the time. As frustrating as that was, it would be next level if it was the car itself that had been stolen, right? This is how you get your grandma to her doctor's appointment, you get the kids to school, it's how you get to work. It is your freedom that is being stolen from you, not just the object itself that facilitates that freedom. And so I think it's right that we elevate it to that level of severity, and we're doing so with 1171 today. And as to Senate Bill 8, absolutely, victims of natural disasters, victims of home fires should be able to get their necessary documents in a streamlined and easily accessible way. That's true. One of the things that I heard so much in testimony and conversations as I was brought on board for this bill is domestic violence survivors, right? Those who are leaving a domestic abuse situation. Individuals who are unhoused and really working to get themselves back on their feet, but you can't get the job without a driver's license or without a state-issued ID, right? So you have these barriers to being able to gain that freedom again, and that's what this bill seeks to address. I am so grateful for all of the organizations we have throughout the state who have been facilitating this for the last several years. The challenge is it's a patchwork of dozens and dozens of different organizations. So if you have a person, let's go back to the domestic violence situation. We have a person leaving a domestic violence situation, let's say in Douglas County, and therefore they qualify for the vouchers through the nonprofit that facilitates that program in Douglas County, but their support system, they're going to live for a while till they get on their feet with their sibling who lives in Pueblo County, and that voucher they got in Douglas County isn't good in Pueblo County or vice versa. Well, that's a challenge unto itself. And so now we're going to have a statewide streamlined access to be able to do this, and it'll be more efficient for those who are truly in need to, again, get back on their feet and regain their freedom. Mr. Governor, thank you again.
We'll do 1171 first, sir. 1171, here we go. It's official, congratulations. And 8, is this 8? 8, okay. Ready? Okay, and then I think we'll take some questions, if you have any, from the media, for me or Senator Hendrickson. Yes?
Hi, yes, I have a question related to House Bill 1171, and I was curious, so what went into the decision to make it difficult for a person who is committed first-degree auto theft to not be able to possess a firearm? Why was it chosen to just be first-degree, not second?
Do you want to take that?
Thank you, Mr. Governor. So there were several conversations, and the bill introduced would apply to all forms of motor vehicle theft. It's about meeting legislators where they are. This is the third year in a row that there has been consideration of PALPO for motor vehicle theft offenses. And the first-degree motor vehicle theft was an offense where there was able to be consensus of where this is serious enough, this shows a pattern of behavior, this is a problem, and it demonstrates that risk to the community, number one, and a clear lack of comportment to be able to have the discernment necessary to operate a firearm in a safe manner. And so was happy that we were able to make that agreement with legislators on both sides of the aisle and get the bill passed.
Yeah, and of course, I would have been happy to sign a stronger version of the bill, but this bill goes a long way towards sending a very clear message that we do not tolerate auto theft in Colorado and their severe consequences.
Do you think this will keep violent criminals from obtaining any firearms?
Well, look, there's a number of different assault crimes where people lose the right to be able to have a weapon, and this would add to that to make sure that there's a strong deterrence from auto theft. And I think when somebody engages in auto theft, it's a very dangerous crime. It can often end, as I said, in injury to innocent bystanders, to others. So we take that very seriously, reducing auto theft in Colorado, and it joins many other crimes where there are consequences in terms of losing your right to have a weapon.
Does more need to be done?
More needs to be done across the board on public safety, and there's a number of other public safety-related bills we're signing. One of those will implement Proposition 130, passed by the voters. So money will go out as soon as January to local police departments and sheriff's departments in Pueblo, Colorado Springs, that the voters allocated for that purpose. And of course, we need tougher penalties, which we have now on auto theft. 2 sessions ago, we passed tougher penalties around fentanyl. So that plays an important role in this, but there's no silver bullet to make our streets safe, but takes a lot of work and a lot of effort on everything from preventing young people from becoming offenders to holding criminals accountable, and together we're getting that done.
James?
With 1171, I was wondering, was there a particular incident or number of incidents that led to the drafting of this legislation?
I would just say that anecdotally, there are many incidences where people that had a checkered past of auto theft have engaged in assault, physical assault crimes and other more serious crimes. We often view it as an associated crime. When someone steals an automobile, it generally means that this is somebody who is, needs some sort of intervention, is not as interested in following our laws. And this will get at that earlier and provide a stronger disincentive for people to steal cars. Was there a particular one you want?
Yeah, thank you. This was something that I heard a lot about when I was running. I asked a lot of questions. I had a lot of ideas my own experiences and thoughts I brought into this, but I had a lot of conversations with members of the community, including members of our law enforcement, and this was something that I heard about again and again, and so it was something that I really wanted to be a part of for that reason. One of the stories I was told from an officer that really stuck with me was a case of a domestic disturbance that the neighbors had called in. And officer arrives at the home, knocks on the door's open, there's the man and the woman couple there, there's some crime, but there's no signs of physical violence. Both are denying that any physical violence has occurred. There's clearly been some shouting. There is a firearm present on the coffee table that's visible in the doorway. And upon running the background check of this individual, there was a criminal history. One of the elements of the criminal history was motor vehicle theft. And so, but there's nothing there that is arrestable, just a verbal domestic dispute that didn't elevates to any physical action, and so there's no reason, there's no constitutional reason to make an arrest in that case. But here, if we're saying that type of conviction is one on the list of that removes your rights to firearm possession, that would have changed that right then and there, because the possession of the firearm in that case alone would have been cause enough for an arrest, and that would have been its own charge. And the officer just explained to me, a gut feeling that, I didn't know when, but I knew that at some point I would be responding to a call where there was probably violence involved and the firearm was probably used, and it wasn't today, and man, I wish I could make that arrest today.
Final question?
Can you talk about how proud you are that we have taken these steps today to a safer community?
Look, I'm proud that Colorado is taking the steps we need to get tough on crime, protect our communities. Crime is now down, and we've turned the corner. This is our 3rd year in a row, but we have a long way to go to make Colorado one of the 10 safest states. It is steps like this one and many others that we are engaged in that will make our streets safer, people safer in their homes, and I'm really glad we took an important step today. Is there anybody who hasn't asked one? I want to get to everybody. Was there any? Okay, I think we got to everybody. Did we? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good to see you.